Hello, everyone. Some of you might have noticed that I have been away for the past week or so, and that was mainly so that I can take a break and get some stuff done, at work and in personal. And that seems to have worked. So this week I'm back to the highlights, and meanwhile, thank you for all the support, all the messages that I've been getting about about how valuable this is. So it may not have a lot of viewership or anything, but it's still proving to be valuable to me, and to at least a few other people, and that keeps me happy. So let's get started with our highlights today. First one from Measure What Matters. The OKR system, Grove wrote, is meant to pace a person to put a stopwatch in his own hand so he can gauge his own performance. It is not a legal document upon which to base a performance review. To encourage risk taking and prevent sandbagging, OKRs and bonuses are best kept separate. Right. So, one common mistake that's done in implementing OKR is to link it with bonuses somehow. That is, if they get uh, as in like if the OKRs are fulfilled to some 70% to 100% range, there is this it figures in the compensation model somehow. And it's interesting to note that right at the beginning, so the person Grove, they're referring to Andy Grove. That's of course that's from when he was at Intel. All of these systems were based on that. So since the beginning, OKRs and bonuses were never meant to be linked. And of course, the book covers something called CFRs, continuous. No, I'm forgetting the acronym expansion of CFR. Yeah, now it's going to bother me. But yeah, so the CFR is the model for the compensation, and it is de-linked from OKRs. And it is suggested that it is kept at the opposite end of the calendar spectrum, so that when you're reviewing OKRs, that's not when you're talking about compensation. That's probably 6 months later if you have an yearly compensation cycle. That is so. Yeah, let's move on. Pirates in the Navy. Most companies are not innovation ready, so most employees with good ideas have no clear place to start. This is straightforward. It's an observation that most companies are not innovation ready. So that way, employees, even though the innovation happens at the fringes, at an individual frontline levels, there is no mechanism, there is no structure to support that in an organization. And this is what the book is all about, Pirates in the Navy. That is, how are you going to raise this kind of like grassroots movement in your organization for innovation? So, yeah, we'll move on. So good they can't ignore you. If you just show up and work hard, you will soon hit a performance plateau beyond which you fail to get any better. Right. So, the book is kind of the book covers the value of working hard, and like that's in the title, kind of, so good they can't ignore you, is that that you're so good at your job that they can't ignore you. It's not about passion, it's about being good at your job, and that's the whole thing. I'll not go too deep into this, but there is a lot of nuance over here. Passion at the face value, it's kind of what's the word, it's disadvantageous. It's not going to help anybody, not the organization, not you, chasing passion as such. So and the caveat the book is putting out in this highlight is, if you just show up and work hard, that is, if you feel that okay, all you need to do is show up and working hard, you will soon hit a performance plateau. And you'll keep growing until you hit the plateau and you can't grow any further. So yeah, there is there are things about upskilling yourself, and then I'm sure it's a while since I read this book, so I'm sure there is a lot more over here. But yeah, in summary, the book is really it's really, I mean, maybe you can call it a manifesto against this whole trend of being passionate about your work. And book is not saying that okay, you should not like your work. It's not saying that, but it's really about that hard work kind of results in passion. It's not the other way around. It's not that passion will lead you to success. It's that hard work will lead to passion, which will lead to success. And yeah, we'll go on. to principles. To be principle means to consistently operate with principles that can be clearly explained. So there are many parts of this. It's a short sentence. It seems quite clear. It is quite clear, but there are many parts to this. So first thing is consistently operate. So consistency is the key. It's not that, okay, no, sometimes you may choose to do this and at other times you choose to do something else. No, you're operating with those principles. So whatever principles you have defined for yourself, you're consistently operating with that. So that's consistency. And principles that can be clearly explained. So it's not that principles are subjective, that, okay, it means one thing to another person, one person, and another something else to another person. That really won't work. So there needs to be documentation. There needs to be an elaboration, maybe with examples that, okay, this is what the principle really refers to. And if you have these things, a good documentation of what the principles are, and if you're able to operate with them consistently, that is what it means to be principled. We'll go on. What is engineering enablement? It's an article. Even though it makes sense to look at engineering enablement teams as an extension of DevOps, SRE, or Ops teams, they should be viewed as a standalone product feature team that is serving customers, other developers, and stakeholders within the organization. They will usually own some key functionalities that are used by all other systems. Right. So, yeah, I think we have touched upon this in the past a few times, and it's the view that engineering enablement teams are really product teams, and they shouldn't be looked at an extension of a delivery team, for example, or a streamline team. If you're going to use the team topologies verbiage, they should really be a independent team focused on serving customers. So they have to operate with the support mindset or the customer first mindset. That way. Who are the customers? The customers are the other developers or stakeholders within the organization. So yeah, let's move on. A mind for numbers. Friends and teammates can serve as a sort of ever questioning larger scale diffuse mode outside your own brain that can catch what you missed or what you just can't see. And of course, as mentioned earlier, explaining to friends helps build your own understanding. So the book talks about the focused mode and diffuse mode and the value of both. Focused mode has its values, has its uses, where you are focused on a problem and you're intent on solving it. All your attention is on the problem, and compare it with diffuse mode, where you're not really thinking about one thing in particular, but your brain is still working on the problems you have focused on before. Your brain is still working on that, and now it can come up with connections you never thought of before. That's how the diffuse mode works, and that's like the basis of creativity. So yeah, that's the author is saying here that friends and teammates can serve as a diffuse mode outside your brain, right? And of course, explaining to friends helps build your own understanding. I think that's straightforward. So moving on, the earned life. If you're lucky, we begin as generalist, end up as specialist. So we have talked about focus. Sorry, not focus. We have talked about range a lot of times over here, the book, and I mean this particular section, the author is referring to a range as well over here, and I think there are like this is a whole chapter. There are like multiple sections. The value of being a specialist, and I feel my personal opinion is that the author is talking about being a specialist, but really the way range describes it, it is still a generalist. So that's my personal opinion, and it feels like both of them are talking about the same thing but from different lens. And one of them is saying that, okay, no, this is generalism anyway, and the other one is saying no, it's being a specialist. But for that, of course, you have to start with being a generalist. Both sections are valuable. Like I said, Range is an excellent book, and even this section over here, it's a very valuable read. And I don't feel that they're talking about different things at all. So we'll move on. Originals. Children who received character praise were subsequently more generous. Right, and so the author is comparing two different approaches of child upbringing, where in one set the children who received character praise, as in affirmations on identity, that for example, if they did a good thing, it's not the thing that's praised, it's the children who are praised, that because they identify with that thing, as in they are good citizens. They're good models of citizens. Now that is a compliment that will stick with them as an identity, and in the future it will help them, be a productive member of the society. Like one of the attributes is, being generous. Compared to, I'm forgetting the case studies over here. Again, it's a while since I've read the book. So yeah, it's worth reading. All of these sections. Moving on, the Anthropocene Reviewed. We just keep going. We spread across 7 continents, including one that's entirely too cold for us. We sailed across oceans toward land we couldn't see and couldn't have known we would find. Yeah, I'm forgetting which section this is, but yeah, uh, I think it's in the section of, where the author is talking about about the anthropology aspect of human beings, where we are always striven to do more and more. Like the highlight says, we just keep going. We'll move on. Getting things done. In training and coaching many thousands of people, I have found that lack of time is not the major issue for them, though they may think it is. The real problem is a lack of clarity and definition about what a project really is and what associated next action steps are required. So, I think it's fairly straightforward, and we have talked about the importance of the next action steps many times in the highlights before. Um, so, I don't really know what else to add over here. It's the aspect of lack of time not being an issue, as in time management not an issue but something else. So like over here the author is insisting it's the lack of clarity and definition about what a project is, so which is really the first action item that you need to do to begin a project. So yeah, let's move on. And this is I'm just going to skip it, again keeping it like in a reasonable time frame. And that's the end of highlights today. It was good being back, and yeah, let's see how this goes. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.